I'm Charlie Phipps, so I'm the co-founder of Zaptica, which is a new power platform business. A little bit about me and my background. I am a BizApps MVP. I was lucky enough to win the Tech Star of the Year award this year for the UK winner. A lot of people usually see me speaking about Power Apps because that's my specialism, Power App super user. But I actually also have an absolute love for Power Virtual Agents. So that's why I decided to pop on here and talk about something other than Power Apps. And I think they're incredibly useful and very quick and easy to build. And they can actually change the way you work in your business today. So that's why I've come on here to talk to you about Power Virtual Agents. I'm also the co-founder, co-founder/founder of the Scottish Power Platform User Group. So if you ever want an opportunity to come and speak, and if it's not on one of these VRT sessions, then feel free to reach out as well. Sarah's actually speaking on our next one, which I'm super excited for. I'm going to be reusing some slides today, so I will be skipping over some slides because I'm actually reusing some of the slides from a bot in a day workshop that I built. But the cool stuff is when we actually just jump on and go straight into Power Virtual Agents and do a demo. Now, typically this is aimed at an audience of, I don't know anything about Power Virtual Agents. I don't really know much about chatbots. They sound really cool. I want to build some. But because we've got some familiar faces, and I know that some of you might have used Power Virtual Agents before, whilst I'm talking and demoing, I'm also going to be showing off, these are some of the new features. This might look slightly different if you haven't used Power Virtual Agents for like 6 months, just to try and give everyone and all people here a takeaway, essentially. So, if anything I am saying is, bread and butter to you, just please bear with. But that's the audience I'm targeting today. Why is my keyboard not working? So we're just going to skip over some of these slides. So if anyone's seen Power Virtual Agents, you'll know that this is the icon. Introduction to Power Virtual Agents. It is a tool that you can use to build chatbots. So it's one of the elements of the Power Platform low-code, no-code technology that Microsoft supply. You can create chatbots, whether it's for internal employees, whether it's for visitors, whether it's for your customers. Where you can put a bot is up to you. So we will explore that later, but essentially you've got 2 types of bots you can build in Power Virtual Agents. You can either build a Power Virtual Agents for Teams, and it does what it says on the tin. You can build it and you can have it sit inside your Microsoft Teams, whether that's in a channel or whether it's sort of pinned on the left-hand side inside your organization. Alternatively, you can build Power Virtual Agents that might sit on your Facebook business page or your company intranet or your website. And typically we call them iframes, so it will sit inside an iframe. Those 2 types of bots have different licensing. But we'll come on to that later, talk about licensing after we actually look at the cool features. So I've sort of tried to highlight here just the key features. It is a no-code, low-code development. It does have that extension into something called Azure Bot Framework Composer, where you can actually write code and make your bots very complex. But you'll see what we could do today from a few click, drag and drop. And we'll actually have a look at the authoring canvas. It has natural language processing. So anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's essentially you can leverage Microsoft's AI capabilities to understand and interpret user input. We will actually use some of these preview features today. So, where you can put in, a website URL, for example, and then ask the bot something and it will pull information from that website. And that will become clearer in the demo part. You can integrate with different Microsoft services. So if you've heard of Power Automate, you can then automate off the back of your chatbot. So to give you an idea of what that might look like as a use case, if I was to build a first-line support bot for my organization, and I want it to be able to, for an individual to be able to self-serve themselves, I've got this problem. Right, I've asked the chatbot. Can the chatbot deal with the problem? Yes, great. Then that's solution solved. If not, actually, could I go and raise a ticket in my service now because I use ServiceNow for my ticket resolution. Yes, I can do that, and I can get the chatbot to create that ticket automatically through Power Automate. So that's just an example, where you can use Power Automate integrated within Power Virtual Agents to go do something clever in the background. There's other services you can integrate with inside Azure, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams. We mentioned how you've got that multi-channel deployment, whether it sits within Teams or whether it sits, on your company intranet or website. And the really cool thing about Power Virtual Agents is it actually has built-in analytics. So you don't need to go out and buy a separate service and, pay for something other. You can actually see some really cool analytics that we'll look at, but it will help you understand if your chatbot has been adopted correctly, what topics are typically being used, what people are asking the bot, etc. And that's all out of the box functionality. So when talking about bots, we need to think about how do we go about building a bot. So firstly, we need to consider what is the purpose of the bot, who's our target audience, what are the use cases, and what are the prioritization of those use cases. So when we look at I can't say that word. When we look at the priority of the use cases, we're looking at what must we have now, what could we have, what should we have, and what won't this bot do? And that's important to identify so we can at least build a minimal viable product. Typically, what you'll see with bot development is it's done in an iterative approach. So actually, you'll build something and then you'll build on top of it and you'll keep rolling out. And you'll do that based on the analytics that you're actually seeing, because you can identify from the built-in analytics how often the bot can't answer something, how often an individual is being required or requested, or if you're integrated into Dynamics and customer service, how often a live agent is actually used. So you can actually get analytics around that, so you can see, well, what use cases do I want to bring forward, and what's okay just to meet my basic requirements for now. And then there's a few things that you need to consider, which is your scalability and integration / sort of adoption. Now, when building the bot's content itself, one thing we need to consider before we do that is actually I will sit down with my clients or with my internal team, whether you're building it for an internal team or a client, and actually map out the use cases. What features do I actually want this bot to do? So whether I'm building if we go back to the IT service help desk, for example, which areas of the business is this bot going to cover? Is it going to cover sales, marketing, and IT, or is it just going to focus on IT? Within IT, is it going to support Dynamics? Is it going to support Power Platform teams? What's the purpose? Who are we serving? From there, we can also consider creating a list of FAQs. So typically, you'll ask the bot a question and you want an answer. So you can start considering what are those questions, what are those answers. Now, the bot creation has actually come away from that. It's much more clever with the AI capability, so we'll have a look at that. But that's where you'll also consider what sort of documentation you may want to upload. Have you got internal documentation that you want to use? For example, if I was working in a finance organization or like a legal organization, you might have some strict policies that I need to reference, but I might not know them off the top of my head. Having a chatbot being able to ask that question and being able to get the chatbot to load that information directly from your internal documentation is quite powerful. So you can consider that. Something else you need to sort of consider is escalation. Okay, if the bot can't help, we don't want it just to end there, because that's a bad experience for the end user. So actually, which team is going to own this bot and what's going to happen after this bot can't serve that end user? That's really important, because otherwise you're going to get people unsatisfied with the bot and never want to go back to it. If I go to the bot as a first protocol and it can't answer me, but my solution still gets solved because I get redirected to someone in my team who's an expert, then that's fine, because my problem's still solved and I'm not going to think of a bad experience on it. But if there's nothing after that, I'm going to think that's a terrible experience. So we've got to think around, escalation and what happens when the bot can't help. And then something else you need to consider is topic redirection. So before we talk about that, we're just going to have a look at what a topic is. Now, a topic, different chatbot tools might use different terminology, but a topic in Power Virtual Agents is a specific area or subject. So you've got to think that you need to define the topics that align to different areas. So when we said we need to think about the use cases, which area of the business are we going to serve? Different areas might have their own topics, right? So I might have a topic for Power Apps. I might have a topic for Power Automate. I might have several topics if I wanted to within Power Apps. For example, I might have something around helping people with Power Effects. I might have helping people with scalability or, Power Apps and ALM. There's different subject areas is essentially how I vision and explain what a topic is. Now, within topics, you will have 6 things you need to know about topics, is the user queries. So this is how you interact, and based on your interaction or your input, whether you've asked a question, whether you've actually replied to a question because the bot's asked you a question, however you have inputted and interacted with that bot, it straight away, your Power Virtual Agent is going to go to a topic based on the trigger phrase or the key phrase that it's picked up, and then it's going to go down a routing and answer that. And that's going to become very clear in a second when we demo. So you need to think about how your user is also going to interact with that subject area. So then it gets you thinking, well, what sort of questions might I ask in order to get that subject and get the responses? And that actually then creates my key phrases as well. Your topic will have specific responses, but these are being made more clever with AI Copilot, and we'll have a look at some of those. You can transition between topics. So if you're starting very high level as a subject area, you might have smaller subject areas, and actually you can redirect based on a phrase that's being said or the way you answer a question. Then you can redirect it to another topic. You can have sort of conditions. So if the user says this, or if the user says that, we'll go to topic A, we go to topic B. So you can think of it as, mapping out your topics. And then something that's really cool is you get your topic analytics. So I briefly touched upon it there, how you can have sort of conditions, you can have variables. Variables can be very useful for passing information outside of Power Virtual Agents and storing them either in a database or actually using them. So for example, I use variables all the time within Power Virtual Agents when I'm triggering Power Automate flows. So I might collect information like, what's the user's name? What's their email? And, and then I'll pass these variables to my flows. So if in doubt, I can record that, and then for whatever reason, I can reach out to that user privately, or I can use Power Automate to go do something clever, like send them an email, etc. You can have complex interactions. We'll briefly touch upon this. We'll briefly look at adaptive cards. Don't worry if you don't know what adaptive cards means. Hopefully that is apparent in a second. And we'll also look at how you can actually have cards, images, videos as responses. So that's most of the boring slides out of the way. We're actually just going to go straight in, and let me stop sharing a sec when I can find my mouse. Let me open the right screen and share. So can you see my screen again?
Yeah, I can see that, mate. Yeah.
Perfect. So for the purpose of this, I'm just going to look away because I'm on my big monitor now, but I'm still with you guys. So this is Power Virtual Agents. Anyone who's not gone to Power Virtual Agents before, I've literally just gone Power Virtual Agents via Google, logged in, it's taken me to web.powerva.microsoft.com. Now, this is what you'd see, okay? If you're building a chatbot via the web, you get a different user experience if you do it via the Teams, but just for the purposes of this, I'm going to do it here. Now, something to note here, I'm building mine in Power Platform Preview environment. So that is an environment I set up. Now, I am going to be showing some of the preview features because they're preview features that are only available in an environment that is set up in the US. So that is why I've got a separate environment. So if you want to play with any of the features, like me, and you can't wait till it's generally available, you'll know that you can only do it if you're in a US environment. So if that's something that you need to request in your organization, then so be it. But you're typically, you might have your own dev environment and then go, Charlie, these aren't working. Now, on the left-hand side, we're just going to go to chatbots, and we're just going to create a new chatbot today. So we can call this BRT demo. And actually, you get to choose what language. Now, with Power Virtual Agents, you can actually do multilingual chatbots, but that's where you'd have to use another service like Azure Bot Framework, Azure Bot Composer Framework, or Framework Composer. Can't remember which way around it is, but essentially that enables you to actually make multilingual bots. But when you're building just a standard out of the box bot, you need to choose your language. So I'm English, so I'm going to put it into English. Now, for the purpose of this, I'm going to use the shortlist website. I hope you don't mind, Sarah. But we're actually going to have a look at some of the AI capabilities. So for anyone who's previously used Power Virtual Agents, when you come to build a topic, you might have remembered where it says suggested topics, and you could upload like a document, whether it's a PDF or Word, and it would go and create all those subject areas for you and automatically create you some responses. That's now gone. The suggested topics is now part of this AI generative answers. So I'll show you that in a bit more detail. But first thing we're going to do is we're just going to put in the shortlist website. So you could put in, if you're building your own internal internal bot, you'd put in your own website. So, Sarah could go away, build this, look really cool in front of her colleagues and say, I built an internal chatbot for us. Now, this is just setting up. Now, what happens with every single chatbot, it will automatically build you default topics. So remember what I said about the topics, they're subject areas. So on the left-hand side, we can now see that we've got overview, topics, entities, analytics, publish, and then we've also got some settings. So if we look at the default topics you get, this because, okay, it's loaded. This is the standard set of topics you'll get. You'll get greeting, you'll get goodbye, you'll get sort of start over, you'll get thank you. Every single bot will have this. So we can go in and have a look at this. So for example, if we go into this greeting topic, every single topic will have triggers. So whether I say good afternoon, hey, hello, hi, whatever, if I've put one of these single phrases in, it's always going to call this topic, and then it's going to do whatever I've put in here. So in this case, it's got a message and it says, hello, how can I help you today? Right. So if I was to put in, hi, hello, how can I help you today? So we can actually customize this response. So I could say, hello. Oh, sorry, I lost my keyboard. I'm Charlie's bot. We could literally save that, run it again whilst we're in test mode, but hey this time. And we can say, I'm updating the bot's responses. So when I say it's very easy, click and drag, no code's been done yet, but automatically already we've got some bot giving us some greetings. Now, obviously, we want to make this more clever. Now, at the moment, as you could see earlier, what I did is I connected this to the shortlist website. So I could actually test this and say, hi, who is Sarah Jones? Let's see if it can pull that from the website. Hopefully it can. Thinking about it. I'm sorry, I'm not able to help you with that. Let's go back and check that we've got our AI capabilities. It has got that. 2 seconds, because this worked yesterday. When I was thinking of my use case, I was like, oh, I'll do a shortlist and this actually worked. If it doesn't, then that's fine. I'll discuss it instead. But that'll just be classic live demo of preview features. Okay, it's not, so that's fine. So I'll explain it. This is a classic example, and actually it reminds me of one of my points that I was meant to mention to you. If you're building out a bot and you're going to be using it in production, whether it's for internal teams or external, do not use preview features. That's why they are preview, and that's why I built it in a separate environment. Classic example is this, it worked yesterday, it's not working now. I don't know why, but I could diagnose it, but we're not going to do that on the call. So essentially, let's look at these AI capabilities. Now, what would actually happen is it would search on the shortlist website and it would look for Sarah Jones. So yesterday when I did this, it actually called back Sarah and it found and it referenced the Meet the Team page on the shortlist. So instantly it was able to go to the website, search all the pages and find that information. I could then actually interrogate it a bit more and I said, what is Sarah interested in? That's when I found out that Sarah likes cooking and she likes sipping on red wine. And that was based on, crawling back from the website, okay? So not only can I crawl from, specific websites that I give it, actually I can upload different documentation. So for example, documentations from my SharePoint, OneDrive, it even says here, and it'll do it in real time based on the content you choose. So unfortunately I couldn't show you that, but that is how Power Virtual Agents is differing from the suggested topics. It will actually do it in real time rather than create those topics based on the documentation you upload, and then you have to make those edits. So if you're having documentation in a shared location, and that documentation is maintained and up to date, your bot will always be up to date as well. That's the idea behind this. Which I think is really clever. It enables you to build those quick and fast chatbots. As I say, it's a preview feature. There's other things that you can do. You can actually upload documentation as well. So not just link it to your sort of SharePoint and your OneDrives, etc. But you can actually upload documentation. And it looks like there's a limit of 3 megs per file. I wouldn't recommend uploading loads, but it's a feature that's coming and it's currently in preview feature. There's also then going to be a load of AI capabilities using Copilot to actually help you build out these bots and interrogate or you, as an end user, dig into the data a little bit more, right? And dig into that document and ask and sort of help create the questions. Now, going back to topics, what we can do is, as well as have it pull, theoretically, from the documentation that we upload, from the website that we sync, we can actually create our own topics. So we've simply, just to show you how easy the authoring canvas is, we could simply go add topic, and then we can either create from Copilot and then describe what we want. So if we had our Copilot licensing, we could say, I want a topic to do X, Y, Z, and it will create it. It will create all the key phrases, and it will create that whole sort of messaging, input, output. Or I can create from blank. After that, what you would then need to do is each trigger will need phrases. So then you can enter all your phrases. What's really cool is you then upload. So let me just upload some phrases. My mouse is frozen. Oh, this is not going well. 2 seconds. Let me stop sharing. Reshare. I've come on here to explain how cool Power Virtual Agents is, and it's letting me down. I'm just refreshing now. Give me 2 seconds.
It's good to see it when it doesn't work, though, Charlie. I think people appreciate that real life situation.
Yeah, this is the true, whether you're low code or pro code, these things happen. It's all part of the experience. It doesn't all work first time. You're still working on a third-party platform, mate. So actually, it's a good demo of what really happens in the real world, if anything.
Exactly.
I'm just glad I haven't had the not responding message come up. That's what I typically get in Power Apps, but that's the joys of development here. What we're going to do is we're just going to go into one of the greeting topics so I can explain. Earlier we had a look and we were able to change a message. Now, I know what you're thinking. What else can I do in here? What else can I have as a response? So actually, this is where it's quite easy. You can not only just send a message, but you can actually ask the user a question. So just to sort of show how easy that is, it's all drag and drop and, type. I can then enter my question. I can choose, whether that's multi-choice options, or I can base that off an entity. An entity is like a set of records. So for example, addresses, age is a good one, sort of colors, cities. So typically here, if I just put what service do you prefer? And then I can put in some options, PVA, Power Apps. I can then actually, earlier we mentioned how you can have variables and you can have a condition. Now what you can see here is this has automatically created a condition. Okay, so I could change this variable and I could actually rename it to be something sensible and something that's reusable. So var and then platform choice, for example. What I can then do is based on the response. So if it's equal to PVA, I will then do this and it will go down that stream. Otherwise, if I want to say based on the answer choosing Power Apps, I might do this. So this is where I could actually then redirect it to another topic. So for example, if I said to you, what do you need help with today? And I gave you 3 options and you came back and said, I need help with Power Virtual Agents because it's not working, then I could redirect you to a topic specifically on Power Virtual Agents and say, like the generic thing when you go onto Microsoft and you raise a support ticket, have you tried switching on and off your computer? Yes, I have. Have you logged in with the right credentials? Yes, I have. But you could do something like that, right? Would suggest that it's not a very good end user experience, but you get where I'm going with that. So that automatically can create your condition. If we look at that, you can save that. And what I love about this authoring canvas, whilst you're developing, you can test at the same time. So I can now see that my topic's saved. Because I'm in the greetings topic, if I now type in hi, you can then see that it's already asking me what service do I prefer, and it's given me the 2 options, Power Apps or PVAs. And I've not written any code. Like, this is all really easy. I can then say PVA. At the moment, I haven't done anything else, so I know that that's what the user is going to experience. So I'm developing, and then I'm able to test before I even publish somewhere, all in one canvas. So it's a very powerful tool. Something else you can do is actually ask with an adaptive card. So adaptive cards are, a bit more advanced than your sort of standard response. Anyone who builds adaptive cards or doesn't, I always suggest going to adaptivecards.io designer, and that's where I build all my adaptive cards. And then I can take all the code that I need and put it into the response. So for example, here, you've got a default adaptive card here for the bot framework, but essentially it's a user, the date, some kind of description. Now, what I could display in adaptive cards is like an image. I could have a call to action button. I could have, a submit button. It's more than just, I'm going to ask you a response, I'm going to ask you a question, or I'm going to display a message. So actually, this capability is now within Power Virtual Agents. I think it was 6 months ago, this adaptive cards wasn't there. You'd have to use the bot framework composer. So, it's actually a really useful tool that has been brought into Power Virtual Agents quite recently, that actually you can start providing quite advanced and descriptive responses based on your chatbot. Now I know that it's a little bit overwhelming, but again, it's this adaptivecards.io is really easy to use, very drag and drop. And then once you're happy, you can take the code out of this payloader, and you can actually just paste that into your adaptive cards. So again, I haven't written any of this code, but then I would just paste that in on my JSON. So just to show that, you know, don't be overwhelmed by something when you see adaptive cards. I've seen some really cool adaptive card use cases where, you know, actually you display like menus in catering and stuff. So you ask the user what do they want, and they wanted a drinks menu. You can display that in really cool manners. So there's some examples there. What else you can do is then actually call an action. So we spoke earlier around how you might actually go and generate a Power Automate flow to automatically do something in the background. This is where you would then call that action. So here, very much like it says, you're calling an action. You can then create the flow from here, or if you already had flows in this environment, you can then say that I want to carry out this flow. You can pass variables to that flow. So any responses that I've captured during this chatbot, if I've asked the user. So for example, here, PVA is now stored as my variable for our platform choice. I could pass PVA, which is this variable, to my flow and use it. So you can kind of get the logic behind that. If I was collecting a load of data from the user, I can then actually use that, pass it to my flow. My flow then can do something clever in the background. If I had more time, we would build a whole bot together, and typically I'd do these over a day, not an hour. So we would be building chatbots together. We'd be looking at variable management, and then we would actually put that into a use case. Here, I'm just sort of trying to highlight the areas that you can do and sort of encourage you to go away and play with these tools in a safe environment. That's the important bit. So make sure you've got a safe environment. Something else to cover is the analytics. So typically what you need to take away from this is straight away, if I go into Power Virtual Agents, I've got a low code, no code, click and drag authoring canvas where I can test my bot as I develop it. I can ask questions. I can send messages based on a user's input. So for example, I could develop a load of questions and answers and have those as different areas inside my business. I can put adaptive cards to display videos or images or call for action buttons. I've got the ability to have conditions to make the bots quite logical. I then have the ability to call actions to take it away from Power Virtual Agents and use more advanced technology and do something in the background, like create automatic create tickets, send emails. I've then got the option to also, is it here? Where has it gone? Topic management. Go to another topic. So actually, based on your answers, after we've greeted you, you're going to go to another topic. And based on that set of answers, you're going to go to another topic. So when I said to you at the beginning, we need to consider the subject areas and how we're going to build out these bots. That's when you're building sort of enterprise level bots. You want to consider actually that topic management and that use case management. For your sort of internal smaller bots, you know, you wouldn't need to go to that level, but and then you've also got some other capabilities where you can get more advanced with your chatbots. So you can transfer the conversation to an actual live agent. Again, all these nice to have, all the more advanced features obviously come at a premium cost, which I think I've got a slide on. But the capabilities are there to actually be able to transfer to a live agent if your answers haven't been provided by the chatbot. You can obviously end in a nice manner as well. So if you want to end the conversation after you've answered, you can ask them if they want to, if the end user wants to carry out a survey. So that's sometimes nice to collect further information from the user. And as a business, you might then analyze those survey results and build on top of your bot. I'm just cautious of time, so I'm going to move on to the actual built-in analytics that you also get. I need to check if I can show you some. So on the left-hand side, you get your analytics. Now here we haven't actually going to have any results, so I'll be surprised if it builds something. But essentially, you've got your tabs at the top. So you'll have your summary. You've then got customer satisfaction. So based on the forms at the end of the conversation, have people responded to those forms? If so, what do the responses look like? You've got your sessions. So if I just click on sessions. Okay, because we haven't actually used it, it's got no data to show. But you can have a look at sort of session rates, how long people have been engaged. You can actually drill down into those. So how many of those sessions had to get escalated, how many of those were ended, what the sort of engagement rate was, how many topics were utilized, and then you can break that down into topics. I don't know if this is gonna load. Might be able to find some screenshots. A few seconds, because I've got some slides on this, so I might be able to actually show you some from other chatbots. Okay, perfect. So come prepared this time for this one. Expected that to happen. Can you see my screen again? Perfect. So on that summary tab that I was clicking in and it wasn't sort of showing, this is a sort of thing you can have a look at. You'll get your sort of total sessions, you'll get your engagement rate, resolution rate, escalation rate, how many times people have just abandoned, engagement sort of over time. It will actually, you can then have a look at sort of topic breakdowns, satisfaction scores based on, if the customer's actually responding to your forms. And this is where I think this is a really important analysis that needs to happen in your business if you're building those longer term chatbots that actually need to be able to be used as a self-serve. And that's when it comes back to, you'll typically build your chatbots in an iterative manner. And that will be based on your analytics that you're seeing here. Some other things to touch upon, and I know this is sort of whistle stop, so I do apologize. Just due to time constraints. You need to consider your deployment and adoption. So the reason I highlight this is because actually I could build the best chatbot. Right? I spent so much time, me and the team have built this awesome chatbot, but I haven't told Craig about it. I haven't told Sarah about it. I haven't encouraged those people to go use it. Right? Now that's a big thing, because what I've seen it a few times actually, where I've built some really large bots for companies, and then they're saying to me, oh, but the bots aren't getting used because people are just coming to me for the questions anyway. And the whole point was we were trying to avoid people going to them or creating so many tickets and avoiding the amount of tickets being created because they were sort of duplicates of tickets. And the reason is because of that change in behavior. Behavioral change is really important and how you adopt it. So actually what we needed to educate that client was, you need to make sure that you redirect people to the bot. So if I built a bot to help, and I know that people are coming to me and asking me that question, the first thing I should be asking, and it does sound a bit weird at first, but have you used the bot? And if it's a no, it's because they're coming to you for the quick answer. But the whole point of the bot is to save your time, right? And so that they can go and get the answer. And then you can also be clever and sort of reference documents. And it comes back to what we mentioned in the last VLT, that actually sometimes you don't always want the answer. You want the sort of root cause behind it. You want a bit more context. So you can do that with a chatbot rather than just, what's the answer to this? And then you get given it. So always consider that adoption piece. Don't overlook that. Test your bot first. You've got that in the canvas. You can do that. Test it amongst end users. Test it amongst your teams. Treat it like an application. You wouldn't deploy an application without testing it with your end users. Same thing with a bot. Communicate the deployment. Have champions. have people singing, shouting about it, have your internal teams, marketing teams, whatever it may be, depending on the purpose of it, champion it, change those behaviors, and then more importantly, analyze those results so you can actually make the bots better over time, and have a team of people, or have actually an individual that owns that responsibility of, I'm going to make X number of changes per month based on the results that I analyze. Due to this being sort of whistle-stop tool, I wanted just to highlight some good use cases that I'm seeing that Power Virtual Agents can do. I'm seeing a lot of sort of HR and employee self-service bots, first line support, buddy systems, that sort of thing. Especially now, a lot of us work virtually. I can see from a lot of our backgrounds, we're working from home, staying connected, having a buddy system. Some organizations are now implementing bots for that. You're having internal teams build their own bots. You're having different departments in organizations as well. Customer support bots. Yes, PVA does get a bit expensive when it doesn't sit within inside teams. Your license per for number of interactions, which I'll show you in a second. However, I'm seeing a increase in those customer support bots now that these chatbots are even easier to create. And they're only getting better. I know that we couldn't show the preview features today, which I'm gutted about. But actually, if you can play with those preview features or see them demoed, what they're able to do now is actually really cool. Back in the day when I used to do sort of web scraping and stuff ethically, the fact that can now be put into a bot and you can get that in real time is really cool. So to see that sort of adoption there for me is awesome. You're getting your standard FAQs and your sort of education and training bots, but you can also have some really cool, clever ones that I'm seeing recently is sort of appointment scheduling, travel and booking assistance. So that's where you can integrate with your third-party tools. You can ask a bot to go and book you, a desk at this time, at this day, and that bot will go book it for you, and it can integrate with Power Automate, and then your third-party tools can go do that based on looking up your schedule, etc. So I'm seeing a lot of that, and then I've seen a massive increase in the sort of legal services and all those, shouldn't probably say it, but boring areas where you've got a lot of policies and regulation, stuff that I don't really like, all those things that you have to reference. I'm seeing a lot of bots in that area. I can see Craig laughing at me, but hey, just quickly then, because I want to give some time for sort of Q&A. You will have your advanced bot capabilities. We've touched upon them. You'll have your Power Automate. You'll have your Azure Bot Framework Composer. You'll have your AI. Your co-pilots. You've all heard of Copilot by now. Copilot's making it easier for developers. Copilot's making it easier for your end users. You can also integrate with sort of customer service if you're using Dynamics customer service, REST APIs, databases, external services. Essentially, what I'm highlighting here is there are no limits. Like, yes, if you're going to make more advanced bots, the capabilities are there. They come at a premium cost. But don't just think of Power Virtual Agent as being a low code, no code, therefore it's limited. There's some really advanced capabilities here. We've mentioned that sort of language and localization support, multi-language. Yes, it's not out of the box, but can I do it through Power Virtual Agents? Yes, I can. Actually, the capability is there. So that's just an example of don't see what you see on the screen when you're having a little click around and think, this is all. There's a lot more to it. These prices, ignore the pricing. These are screenshots of pricing and licensing from Microsoft change all the time. But essentially what I showed you is, and sort of highlighted earlier, if you're sort of using your E1, E3, E5 licensing, if you have that license, you have some Power Virtual Agents capabilities within Microsoft Teams. So you could build chatbots today for your internal teams through Power Virtual Agents for Teams. If you want to sit them in your intranet, web pages, company Facebook, that's when you'll start paying. And then, as you can see, you sort of get per 2,000 sessions. Then you can buy session add-ons. So basically, every time someone interacts with that bot is a session. Is a simple way of seeing it, I guess. And then you have different pricing. But as I say, don't shoot me if that pricing has changed. I just took a screenshot when I made these documents. I'm just going to rush through this because I want to give some Q&A time. Keep an eye on the Power Virtual Agents roadmap. You've got native voice integration coming for Dynamics Customer Service. That's going to take it to the next level for there. I'd love to see that eventually become like a premium feature, sort of out of the box. You know, if I have to shout the Alexa, but I can shout a chatbot, that'd be cool. So, you know, maybe in the future, but keep an eye on the release plans for Power Virtual Agents. With that, I wanted to allow 15 minutes, but we've got 12 minutes, so that is a Q&A time. Thank you for listening. I know it was a bit of a whistle-stop tour and we had some issues, but they're sometimes my favourite sessions. So, yeah, over to any of you with questions. Right?
Yeah, maybe less questions. Well, there's one question, but more also just a point. I think, one, it's nice to see a session on PVA because I don't think there's a lot of content out there or awareness of how easy it is to spin stuff up. Yeah, I thought that was really good. Again, it's just raising awareness. It's like the Power Platform is so vast and wide, yet all we kind of tend to gravitate to are apps and workflows. And actually, there's other bits of the kit that are really important and really useful for solving. And I was funny because it's also true. Those boring areas of the business tend to be the ones that have the worst, most laborious processes where they haven't got time to build apps, but they can knock a bot together just to alleviate some of that flow. I think it's really, really important. The only one I haven't played for bots for a while, but I remember when you used to call a flow from a bot and return the response, you could return plain text and you can return Markdown. Can you return any other formats yet? Can you do some HTML responses? I know you can do the adaptive cards, you mentioned that, but I know I had to learn Markdown for a bot I built a couple of years ago. I just don't know if they kind of expanded out the formats in which you can send responses now.
Still the same.
So,
is it? Okay.
No HTML yet. I think it's on the roadmap.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, I was used to using Markdown because I did a lot of stuff in DevOps wikis, so I think you do a lot of Markdown in there. But before that, yeah, actually trying to kind of learn Markdown on the fly just to send out some nice responses was fun. So I guess anyone calling it flows and wanting to send like a table of responses back, it's either like an adaptive card like Charlie's saying, or learn a bit of Markdown, which isn't too difficult. There's quite a few resources online to help you with that, isn't there?
Yeah. It's, as you say, there it should be HTML would be ideal if you could bring it back.
Wicked, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I do think it's in the roadmap though, but it's not for this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, fair one.
No, thank
you. Good session. I really appreciate that one, mate. It's good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I, as you said, I wanted to do something other than Power Apps because that's what I typically always talk about. But I've actually done these sort of workshops in a day where you build out a bot with teams, and actually straight after that they run away and build loads of bots and they come up with all these use cases, and that's all it is really, the awareness. Yes, if you want complex bots, you're going to, you know, employ a team of developers or partner or whatever it might be, but actually there's a lot of capability here that you don't have to be technical at all. You could be business person, you could be whatever you are and still build these chatbots, whereas that's not necessarily the same with some of the other technologies that we typically talk about.
Yeah, full on.
Barbers?
Hey Charlie, yeah, good session. I completely echo what Craig is saying. There's just not enough content to coverage out there on this topic. I'm going to ask the stupid question probably. I've not done much with Power Virtual Agents, but what's the solution awareness like on Power Virtual Agents? Are they fully solution aware with all the config that goes with it? And do they respect the full kind of deployment process for managed solutions and all the rest of it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, sorry.
Yeah, they've got all the components fit into a solution now.
Okay, that's cool. That's good to know. Thank you.
So you can add them to your managed solutions in your environments, just like you would with your flows in your apps.
Cool. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. I just
and that's another reason why I like them, because it follows the same process that we're used to.
Yeah, I was curious because you're building it using a different portal that you normally would within the kind of maker portal. So just curious for that reason. That's good to know. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just it is strange, as you said, how Power Virtual Agents has its sort of own maker portal, and it looks different to your Power Apps and your Power Automate, but very similar to how you would add an external flow that you haven't created through your Power App. You can just add it in the same manner.
Perfect. Thanks.
I don't know how that looks for Teambots, though. I'd need to check that. I think it's only for the PVAs that are built via the web.
Correct, yeah.
Oh, okay, John. Thank you. Yeah. But that's the only thing to note there. So obviously you'll be having your premium licenses for your Power Virtual Agents in that case as a managed solution.
Cool. Thank you.
Good to see you, John, by the way.
Hi. Hi all. Yeah, so I missed the last few.
Thanks, Charlie. Has anyone got any other questions or comments to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, one thing we're seeing a lot of people use with customer service using bots a lot more now because of the omni-channel. And what the way they're going is it's more expensive to speak to a customer service agent than a bot. So the more you can do in the bots, the better. And with the generative answers, we're seeing people pointing them at specific content stores to do a lot of. It takes out a lot of the topic writing work, and it's really good. Definitely worth having a play.
That's what I was gutted. I couldn't just show the generative answers today. Yeah, I'm glad you can bring that context to the table and say that actually you're seeing that boom. So that's really useful.
It's interesting to see it, Charlie, and everyone sort of alluded to it, but it was about a couple of years ago since I've seen a demo on virtual agent, so it's changed a lot. I was good to see the co-pilot bit. I know the demo didn't quite go to plan, but still just to understand that capability is there. It's come on since I last saw it.
Hopefully a lot of those features on the roadmap they plan to, so those AI capabilities on that little tab, they should all be generally available by the end of the year, touch wood. Don't quote me on that because Microsoft changed things, but hopefully in the new year we can come on and do another demo but of it all fully fleshed and working.
That'd be brilliant, actually, wouldn't it? Everyone could see it working properly. Fab. All right, well, thanks everybody. Have a great evening. I'll see you all in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Thanks, all.
Thank you.
Cheers.